So this piece came from Allied Market Research. Title: Managed Services Market to Reach $594 billion globally by 2023 at an 11.3% compound annual growth rate, according to Allied Market Research. Number one, they are talking about the enterprise class. The leading managed services market players that they list, which, by the way, is identical to probably a dozen or 24 other reports and studies that come out every year that are, kind of similar in this style. They all list the following companies as leading managed services market players: IBM, HCL, TCS, Atos, AT&T, Cisco, Fujitsu, Ericsson, Accenture, and Dimension Data. All enterprise class, undeniably enterprise. Is that bad? No. It just doesn't represent the mid-market, medium, or small business sector covered by MSPs globally, which is numerically, there are more MSPs of that type than there are of this type, right? Here's like what, a dozen, 10? So the players that they're talking about here that represent that $594 billion market share that they're writing about are largely enterprise. Not largely, they are enterprise. Point number two, at $594 billion by 2031, that would be roughly half, a little less than half, but roughly half, let's call it, of the Gartner IT services global spend, which I think is around a little bit over 1.1. I think it's over 1 trillion. I don't know if it's actually at 1.1 trillion. I'll have to go check that. But it's a lot. It's over 1 trillion. Now, the Gartner number should rise, in the next coming years, by the time we get to 2031. But let's assume that this number is roughly half of that 1.1, 1.2 trillion, whatever that's at in 2031. That would mean that managed services, according to Allied Market Research, is representing at least half of the total IT services spend on the planet. Make sense? But what doesn't this market research talk about? What area doesn't it cover? Everything else outside of enterprise, which is massive. It is massive. When you take everything below the enterprise level, mid-market and SMB combined, numerically, you are talking about a lot more MSPs. But in the aggregate, you are talking about a lot of money in that sector alone. But we could probably deduce, using logic, that if we're at $594 billion in enterprise managed services by 2031, and there's probably another $500 million plus unaccounted for, you could probably deduce that the rest of that money is coming from somewhere. Now, where is that money likely to come from in IT services spend on planet Earth? Well, it's not the Martian MSP sector that's red hot and adding to this number. No, I'm going to go with planet Earth-based SMB, mid-market, good old-fashioned managed service providers. Now, if you're a $5 million MSP in Cleveland, that's something that I would be really happy about.